The Grand Council of the Galactic Union convened in the Spire of Unity, a colossal space station floating above the neutral planet of Zarakis. Representatives of over 100 species filled the chamber, their diverse forms ranging from towering croc-nosed warriors with 4 arms to gelatinous blobs that shimmered with iridescent light. Despite their vast differences, they all shared a single assumption: humans were adorable. The discussion was lively as the delegates reviewed Earth's application to join the Union. Holoscreens displayed footage of humans in various scenarios, stumbling in zero gravity, startled by harmless alien wildlife, and even crying over spilled beverages. The collective assessment was unanimous. Earthlings were fragile, clumsy, and too cute to be taken seriously. "They're like the Flibrick pups of the galaxy," said Zarnak, a small, fur-covered delegate from the Fluffit species. His voice was high-pitched and squeaky, drawing chuckles from the assembly. "Can you imagine them negotiating trade routes or handling interstellar conflicts? They'll be eaten alive." Literally, the laughter rippled through the chamber, even from the stern Croc-Nose representative, General Tarkis, who typically avoided humor. Their planet's gravity is a mere fraction of ours, and their lifespans are pitifully short. Adding humans to the Union would be charitable at best. At the center of the chamber, standing amidst the towering aliens, was Kara Linfield, the human ambassador. She was petite by comparison, her dark hair tied neatly back, her crisp uniform tailored to perfection. Her composed expression didn't waver as the alien delegates debated humanity's merits, or lack thereof. Ambassador Linfield, a translucent, crystalline being named Calderix, addressed her. "Do you have any final words to sway the council? Many here believe your kind are ill-equipped for the realities of galactic membership." Kara stepped forward, her boots clicking softly against the polished floor. The room grew quiet as she met the gazes of the assembled delegates, her calm demeanor tinged with an almost imperceptible steeliness. "Fragility," she began, her voice carrying a measured weight, "does not mean weakness, and smallness does not mean insignificance. Humanity's history is one of survival against overwhelming odds. We may seem unassuming, but we are far more than what we appear." Her words drew murmurs from the crowd, but many remained unconvinced. A Eulorian telepath, known for their ability to read emotional undertones, whispered to a colleague, "She believes what she's saying." "How quaint." Kara continued, "Your analysis of us is incomplete. Yes, we may stumble in zero gravity, but give us time and we'll master it. We may cry, but that doesn't mean we break. And if you think we're easily intimidated," her lips curved into the faintest of smiles, "you haven't seen what happens when we're cornered." Before the council could respond, a deafening alarm blared through the chamber. The station's AI chimed in, its voice calm but urgent. "Warning. Hostile ships detected. Pirate fleet approaching. Evacuation protocols initiated." The room erupted into chaos. Delegates panicked, their instincts driving them to self-preservation. The Croc-Nose warriors roared orders to their guards, while the Fluffit delegation scattered, their small, furry forms darting in every direction. Kara remained rooted in place, her eyes narrowing as she accessed the holo display on her wrist. The readout confirmed the AI's warning. A fleet of heavily armed pirate vessels had breached the station's outer defenses. "Ambassador Linfield," General Tarkis barked, his massive frame looming over her. "You need to evacuate immediately. Your kind won't survive this." Instead of responding, Kara calmly scanned the room, taking stock of the chaos. She tapped her wrist display, pulling up a map of the station's layout and identifying key choke points. Then, she turned to the alien security personnel, who were frozen in uncertainty. She pointed to a pair of guards. "Lock down the western corridor and funnel the delegates toward Docking Bay C. We need to create a defensible perimeter." "Move." The guards hesitated, surprised by the authority in her voice, but quickly obeyed. Kara turned to Tarkis, who was still staring at her in disbelief. "General," she said firmly, "if your people are as strong as they claim, then I need them holding the main entry points. Or are you planning to let a fragile human outdo you?" Tarkis blinked, his pride stung. Very well, he grunted, gesturing to his warriors. You heard her. To the entry points. As the aliens scrambled to execute her orders, Kara tapped into the station's AI again, rerouting power to reinforce the shields around the docking bays. She moved with practiced efficiency, her calm under pressure standing in stark contrast to the panic around her. A Eulorian telepath, watching her with growing unease, muttered, "She's not acting like prey." Moments later, the chamber doors burst open, and the first wave of pirates stormed in, hulking, armored figures wielding plasma rifles. The alien delegates screamed and cowered, but Kara didn't flinch. Grabbing a discarded alien weapon, she took aim and fired, the plasma bolt striking a pirate squarely in the chest. The stunned silence that followed was broken only by Kara's voice, cold and steady. "Get to safety. I'll handle this." For the first time, the galaxy glimpsed the truth about humans. They weren't fragile. They weren't cute. They were survivors. And when pushed, they were something far more dangerous. The battle in the station's council chamber raged as pirates stormed in waves, their brutal efficiency designed to intimidate and overwhelm. But Ambassador Kara Linfield had turned the tide. Armed with a stolen plasma rifle and the sharp instincts born of Earth's long history of conflict, she moved with a precision that shocked her alien counterparts. General Tarkis, commanding his Kroknos warriors at the room's main entry point, paused mid-swing of his massive blade to watch Kara dispatch 2 pirates with calculated shots. Her movements were swift and purposeful, her commands clear and effective. "Cover the flanks," she shouted to Tarkis, her voice cutting through the chaos. "They're trying to pin us down in the center." Tarkis growled in frustration, not at her orders, but at the fact that they made sense. He gestured to his warriors, who grudgingly followed her lead. The Kroknos were known for their brute strength, but they lacked the strategic adaptability that Kara displayed with startling ease. Meanwhile, the alien delegates, cowering in pockets of cover, watched in stunned silence. The Fluffit representative, Zarnak, peeked out from behind a console. "Is this normal for humans?" he whispered to Calvarix, who shimmered nervously nearby. "I thought they were supposed to be soft," Calvarix replied, its crystalline form flickering with confusion. Kara's calm voice cut through their disbelief. "If you can't fight, get to the evacuation zones now. This station is not defensible for long." The delegates hesitated, their instinct to follow outweighing their shock. As they scrambled toward the designated docking bays, Tarkis stepped up beside Kara, his blade dripping with molten slag. "You're better at this than I expected," he admitted, his voice gruff. "But we're outnumbered. What's your plan?" Kara didn't look at him, her focus on the holomap projected from her wrist display. "The pirates' goal is to take hostages. That's why they're moving methodically. If we break their formation and create chaos, they'll lose their advantage." Tarkis grunted. "Breaking things is what Kroknos do best." "Good," Kara replied, finally glancing at him. "Then follow my lead." As more pirates stormed the chamber, Kara darted toward a structural support column, firing off precise shots that drew the attacker's attention. Tarkis and his warriors charged in from the opposite side, their war cries echoing through the room. The combined assault was devastating. The pirates faltered, their confidence shaken by the unexpected coordination between the humans and the Kroknos. In the chaos, Kara's wrist display beeped urgently. A secondary alert flashed across the screen. Explosives detected. Central reactor compromised. Her heart sank. The pirates weren't just here for hostages. They were planning to destroy the station. She turned to Tarkis, her voice sharp. "We've got a bigger problem. They've rigged the reactor." Tarkis growled. "How much time do we have?" "Not enough," Kara replied grimly. "But I've got an idea." She turned to the remaining security forces and shouted, "Hold the line. I need a small team to come with me to the reactor." Tarkis hesitated, then nodded. "You'll have your team. But if this goes wrong—" "It won't," Kara said firmly, though her mind was already racing through contingencies. As she led a small group toward the reactor, the delegates finally understood the truth. Humans weren't fragile or naive. They were relentless, And when faced with annihilation, they didn't flinch. They adapted, they fought, and they survived. The air grew hotter and heavier as Kara Linfield and her small team raced through the dimly lit corridors toward the station's central reactor. The hum of the reactor's core filled the space, a pulsing reminder of the danger they faced. Around them, the station trembled intermittently from the continued assault by the pirate fleet. General Tarkis followed closely behind, his massive croc-nose frame barely fitting in the cramped halls. 2 security officers, a lithe Elorian telepath and a silent reptilian Vorik, completed the group. Though unaccustomed to taking orders from a human, the urgency in Kara's commands left little room for debate. "Keep moving," Kara barked, glancing at her wrist display. The countdown timer for the reactor's detonation ticked ominously downward. 14 minutes. When they reached the reactor chamber, the sight stopped everyone in their tracks. The pirates had fortified the area with portable energy shields and automated turrets, their metallic frames glowing ominously in the dim light. Several pirates in heavy armor patrolled the perimeter, while one crouched near the reactor core, connecting a series of explosives to its control panel. Tarkis growled low in his throat. "This is suicide. That's too many for just us." Kara didn't respond immediately. Her sharp eyes scanned the chamber, noting the patrol patterns and blind spots. "We don't need to take them all out," she said after a moment. "We just need to disrupt their operation and neutralize the explosives. Tarkis, you and Vorik create a distraction on the left flank. Draw their attention and take out those turrets." "And what will you do?" Tarkis asked, narrowing his eyes. "I'll handle the explosives," Kara said, her tone leaving no room for argument. She turned to the Elorian. "You're with me. I'll need cover when I reach the core." The Elorian hesitated, but then nodded, its shimmering form flickering in acknowledgement. Tarkis let out a deep sigh. "Fine, human. If we die, I'll make sure to remind the galaxy this was your plan." "Deal," Kara replied, a faint smirk tugging at her lips. The plan unfolded with ruthless efficiency. Tarkis and Vorik charged the left flank with a thunderous roar, Tarkis' blades slicing through the air, while Vorik's plasma launcher unleashed a barrage of firepower. The pirates scrambled to respond, their formation breaking as they redirected their focus. Using the chaos as cover, Kara and the Elorian slipped through the shadows toward the reactor. The automated turrets whirred, but the Elorians' telepathic abilities anticipated their targeting patterns, allowing them to move undetected. When they reached the reactor, Kara knelt by the core, her fingers flying over the alien device. The explosives were sophisticated, far beyond anything she'd encountered before, but she worked quickly, her mind racing through the possibilities. "Cover me," she hissed to the Elorian as she focused on disabling the detonator. The Elorian raised its shimmering arms, projecting a psionic barrier that deflected the occasional plasma bolt that strayed their way. The seconds ticked by, the tension thick enough to cut with a knife. Finally, Kara let out a breath. "Got it," she muttered, pulling the last charge free. The countdown on her wrist display froze at 2:03. But the moment of relief was short-lived. The lead pirate, a hulking figure in reinforced armor, had noticed them. With a guttural snarl, he charged, his massive energy blade crackling with power. "Move!" Kara shouted, rolling to the side as the blade slammed into the reactor's metal floor, sending sparks flying. Tarkis, seeing the commotion, roared and barreled toward the pirate, tackling him with enough force to dent the floor. The two giants grappled fiercely, each vying for dominance. "Get out of here!" Tarkis barked over his shoulder. Kara hesitated but knew the mission came first. "Fall back," she ordered the Yulorian and Vorik. As they retreated, Kara glanced back at Tarkis, her jaw tightening. For all their differences, she knew one thing for certain. If they survived, the galaxy would never underestimate humans or their allies again. The evacuation was in full swing as Kara Linfield and her team raced back toward the docking bay. The reactor was secured, the detonator deactivated, but the station remained under siege. Pirate ships continued to pound its outer shields, and their forces on the ground showed no signs of retreat. Kara's mind raced as she pushed her exhausted body forward. Behind her, the Yulorian staggered, its shimmering form flickering erratically, a telltale sign of its depleted psionic reserves. Vorik lumbered alongside them, silent as ever, but his scorched armor revealed the toll the battle had taken. Tarkis stayed behind, the Yulorian said, its voice faint. Kara's jaw tightened. Tarkis had made the choice to face the pirate leader alone, buying them the precious seconds they needed to escape. She hated leaving anyone behind, but she had no time to mourn. The mission wasn't over. They reached the docking bay, where chaos reigned. Alien delegates pushed and shoved as they scrambled onto evacuation shuttles. The Kroknos warriors fought to maintain order, their booming voices commanding the terrified crowd to stay back. Overhead, the station's lights flickered ominously as the shields continued to weaken. Kara grabbed the nearest Kroknos lieutenant by the arm. "Where are the shuttles taking everyone?" "To the nearest outpost," he replied. "But they won't last if the pirates follow." "They will follow," Kara said grimly. She looked toward the shielded hangar doors, where a crack had begun to form. If those shields failed, the pirates could bring their ships directly into the station. The realization hit her like a thunderbolt. There was only one way to end this. Kara turned to the Yulorian. "You're getting on the next shuttle. Tell the delegates what happened here. Tell them what humans are capable of." The Yulorian blinked at her, confused. "What are you going to do?" "Ending this," Kara said, her voice firm. She turned to Vorik. "Stay with the delegates. Protect them. Make sure they survive." Without waiting for a response, she sprinted toward the station's command center. Inside, the room was eerily quiet, save for the hum of dying systems. She pulled up the station's security protocols, her hands flying over the console. A self-destruct sequence. It was a last resort built into most intergalactic facilities, and this time it would serve its purpose. As she activated the sequence, the station's voice filled the corridors. Self-destruct initiated. "Evacuate immediately." Kara keyed her communicator. "To all ships, this is Ambassador Linfield. The station is lost. I've initiated the self-destruct to take the pirates with it. Get everyone out. Now." She didn't wait for replies. With the timer set for 5 minutes, she sat back and exhaled. It wasn't an ideal plan, but it would work. Suddenly, the door burst open, and Tarkis stumbled in, his armor battered, his blade coated in pirate blood. "You're insane," he growled, limping toward her. "Glad to see you're alive," Kara said, a small smile tugging at her lips. "You could have warned me," Tarkis muttered. "Where's the fun in that?" she replied, standing. "Now let's get out of here." The two of them bolted for the final shuttle, reaching it just as the docking bay began to collapse. The doors closed behind them, and the shuttle launched into space. From the viewport, Kara watched as the station's self-destruct activated, a brilliant explosion consuming the pirate fleet and sending shockwaves rippling through space. The delegates on the shuttle stared at her in stunned silence. After a long moment, one of them, a scaly Ralaneke, spoke. "You humans? You're not what we expected." "No," Kara said, her voice steady. We're not, and I hope you never forget it. As the shuttle joined the fleet of survivors, Kara leaned back, her exhaustion finally catching up with her. The galaxy had seen what humans were capable of. They were far from soft, far from cute, and now they were unforgettable.